What is going on, everybody? I'm back with the Shining shirt on today. So, I want to talk about Stephen King a little bit. And early on in the year, I don't know if you've noticed, but this year I've been reading a lot of Stephen King. And I had fun early on this year doing a couple of videos with The Shining and Carrie, where I read the book for the very first time. I had never read any Stephen King until this year. But I've seen these movies multiple times. Some of Stephen King's work I haven't seen before, but The Shining and Carrie I'd seen before. And what I did was I used those videos to kind of compare and contrast the literary work with the film adaptation. And I also did that with Stanley Kubrick's Clockwork Orange and the novel. And I just have a lot of fun doing that because I think it's really interesting as film lovers. When we watch a movie, you obviously have a screenplay, and you have someone has either written an original screenplay or they've adapted a screenplay, and a lot of times they're adapting screenplays from literary work. And I always find it really interesting how terrible some book to movie adaptations are when you have an entire source that is already written. It's mind-boggling to me how bad so many book to movie adaptations are. And the adaptation I'm talking about today, I have seen this movie before, but I was very young when I watched it the first time, and I wanted to go back in and watch it with fresh eyes after reading the book. I did read the book first before I watched the movie, so I thought that would be interesting to kind of compare and contrast the two. And the book and movie I'm going to be talking about today is Misery. Misery is written by Stephen King and directed by Rob Reiner. Novelist Paul Sheldon crashes his car on a snowy Colorado road. He is found by Annie Wilkes, the #1 fan of Paul's heroine, Misery Chastain. Annie is also somewhat unstable, and Paul finds himself crippled, drugged, and at her mercy. So, like I said, I had not seen this movie since I was a relatively young kid. I want to say like 13 or 14 was the first time I ever watched this. This actually came out the year I was born in 1990. And I was really excited to revisit this, and this film adaptation is incredible. One of the best book to film adaptations I've ever seen, in that there are things that are left out from the book into the movie, but not enough is left out for you to really miss any of the overall experience that the book is going to give you. So in short, very simple description, the lead character of this movie is Paul Sheldon, played by James Caan, and in the book and the movie, Paul writes these books called Misery about a character called Misery Chastain who lives in Victorian-era England. It has sent his career on this enormous trajectory where people absolutely love this book series. And at the beginning of the book, and implied in the movie, he's working on a new novel outside of the Misery series. And in the book, you get a lot more description as to what that novel is. I believe in the book it discusses it's like this gangster novel, very different than anything that he's ever written in the past. And in the book, we're kind of just jumped in. He's in Annie Wilkes' house, and we're kind of getting information as to what led him up to this point. In the movie, he's in his car. We get a flashback to him with his publisher. He's driving in his car, and he wrecks his car in the snow, and he's found by Annie Wilkes, played by Kathy Bates, and she brings him home, and she starts to take care of him. And what's great about both the book and the movie is that the sinister intentions of Annie Wilkes' character are just slowly introduced to you. And what I love that Rob Reiner does in the film is he uses little visual cues to kind of give you an idea as to what she is going to do and what she is capable of. And I think what is so great about the movie adaptation is that you have to have a really great actress to play Misery, because in the book she is so unhinged, but she can also play off as very kind and inviting and normal. And so you have to have someone who can hit those polar opposites really quick. You have to shift from 0 to 100 in no time flat. And Kathy Bates was the perfect actress to pick to play Annie Wilkes. She is absolutely incredible in this movie. Just in her facial expressions alone, and the way that she's able to mask her insanity in certain moments is just absolutely incredible to me. And she gives these really crazy monologues throughout the film that I feel like are just so captivating to watch. I also don't want to take away from the fact that I think James Caan does a phenomenal job playing Paul in this movie. And I think what's great about Paul's character is we don't really know a whole lot about him other than he's a writer who's gotten successful off this book series, that he doesn't really want to work on that series anymore. He wants to challenge himself as an author. He wants to do something new. And we don't have a whole lot of information about his personal life or other things of that nature. And so it really kind of gives you a blank canvas willingness as both a reader and a viewer to put yourself in that situation, and just how horrible and horrifying it would be to be tortured by this woman who understands medicine and who knows ways that she can torture you and keep you alive to do her bidding. And obviously the movie is, she wants him to write another Misery book because Misery has been killed in the previous book, and she wants him to write another book. She finds his new book that she's working on, and the big crux early on is that she wants him to burn it because she thinks it's absolutely horrible. And so he's looking at this book that he has spent so much of his life on and having to come to terms with the fact he's probably going to have to burn it in order to survive. And in the movie, we also get another character of Richard Farnsworth, who plays the sheriff, who's also one of my favorite movies of all time, David Lynch's The Straight Story. And in the book, the sheriff is there, comes to the house to investigate, but he never is like a core character of the book. Where in this, Richard Farnsworth's character provides a lot to the movie. He does a really great job in this. He gives a fantastic performance. And that's a pretty drastic difference between the book and the movie. But I think it adds another layer to the film to kind of jump you somewhere else, to get you out of the claustrophobia of the house. And what I would say another key difference between the book and the movie is the book is very violent. In the movie, you have the major scene of Annie using the sledgehammer and hitting Paul's legs. But in the book takes it in an even more insane, grisly, violent direction in the third act, that like fingers are getting chopped off. All of these things get really heightened, and I'm sure Rob Reiner knew after reading the book, especially in 1990, that there was only so much that he was going to be able to get away with visually. But I think what he does pull off works perfectly fine for the film. I don't think it needed to go in a more extreme direction. I think this movie is just absolutely fantastic. It's very immersive. It's well shot. It builds up suspense really well. And I also absolutely adored the book. It's one of my favorite Stephen King books. It's up there with The Shining and one of my favorites that I've read from him. And I think that whether you read the book or watch the movie, you're not going to go wrong. And I think it's fun to read and watch both. I think you're going to get a lot out of experiencing both, because the book has little nuances that the movie doesn't have. But if you want a great suspense thriller with amazing performances, watch Misery. And if you want that full immersive experience, read the book, because it is absolutely fantastic. So have you seen or read Misery? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I love both the movie and the book. I think they're both absolutely fantastic in very different ways, and I think you'll enjoy them both as well. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.